1984, the Criterion Collection serves as a continuing series of important classic and contemporary films dedicated to gathering the greatest films from around the world and publishing them in editions that offer the highest technical quality and award-winning original supplements. These supplements include features that enhance the appreciation of the art of film. And over the years, as we've moved from Laserdisc to DVD, Blu-ray disc, and online streaming, we've seen a lot of things change, but one thing has remained constant: the commitment to publishing the defining moments of cinema for a growing audience. The Criterion Collection is important to me because it can serve as a learning experience for anybody wanting to study cinema. On this week's edition of DG Live, we'll explore the idea of the Criterion Collection, what it means to us, and a look at a few films from my own personal collection. Hi everyone, I'm your host Ricky Nix, and today I am joined by Caleb Noel.
Thank you for having me in today, Ricky.
Absolutely, thanks for joining us. Dylan Branzima.
Hi, happy to be here.
Welcome to DG Live. And last but not least, Tim Hilbert.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, ready to talk some Criterion?
Yes.
So I guess the first question that I'll pose to you guys is, what exactly does the Criterion mean to you guys personally? And Caleb, we'll start with you.
To me, the Criterion Collection is a very important collection of works, and the company has done some really great work in bringing cinema that many people wouldn't see due to the age of the film or where the film came from, and having access to that is phenomenal, especially as a filmmaker. So.
Right. What about you, Dylan?
Basically what he said, I feel like in some ways it kind of validates my film buffness.
Okay.
As a person who cares very much about film education and film preservation, they've done a great job of that, and they've, like what he said, they brought films that no one would ever see to a new audience. And I think that as a film enthusiast, they're like my Bible, basically.
Yeah. Tim, what about you?
To me, it's very important because without having these movies, you won't have access to see all these movies that aren't known or out of print, and they bring them back, and they just really help me in my studies of film.
So I guess like the common thread for all three of you is just the accessibility to great films that otherwise people might never ever get to see.
That's the main thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and especially the inclusion of the original release of the film.
Right.
Because they do a great job of showing us the film as it was seen by the audiences when it was originally released to the public.
Or as the director would have wanted, if they didn't get to make their cut like back when it was made.
Yeah, one of the things that I definitely take into consideration is the supplements that come with it.
Oh, yeah.
The written essays and all the bonus features and the commentaries, the interviews. It's like a wealth of information for anybody, wanting to study cinema. Because for me, I don't really remember exactly when I started collecting. I think it was when I was still in the military, living in Hawaii, and I would go to Barnes & Noble's in their movie section, and then they have like a little section off to the side with like the Criterion, but it wasn't Criterion per se, it was like Essential Art House was the name of it, which is part of the Criterion. There was like Essential Art House and like John Hughes films, and I just started, collecting from there. So that's one of the key things for me personally. The second question I wanted to pose to you guys is there a particular film that you would like to see in the collection that isn't already, like a favorite film of yours that you want to see in the hands of the Criterion Collection for a re-release? Caleb?
Oh wow, that's a tough one, but absolutely. One of my current favorite films that I would love to see in the Criterion Collection is from director Tom Tykwer.
Okay.
He's a German director, and the film is Perfume, The Story of a Murderer.
Okay.
Really gorgeous piece of cinema.
It's a good movie.
Yeah? Dylan, what about you?
My pick is a film from 1932 called The Old Dark House.
Okay.
It's by James Whale. He did The Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, and it was made during the new wave of all those Universal horror films in the early 1930s. But it's since become it's become part of the public domain because they lost the rights in 1954 for whatever reason, and it has not come out yet on Blu-ray.
Okay.
company, they recently had a whole big thing of all their films on Blu-ray. You got Dracula and The Mummy and Wolfman and all that stuff, but not the old Ark House. And
Okay.
it's a really, really good movie. If you like James Whale, which I don't know if you've ever seen a James Whale movie,
I'm not familiar.
he has perfect blend of horror and comedy.
Okay.
And basically any film that takes place in an old Ark House where people go in and there's a ghost or whatever, it's basically just a haunted house film, but it's the film that basically made those films, but still no one knows what it is. So because it's in the public domain, I would love for Criterion to get their hands on it and release it, because it's a really good movie that people need to see.
Tim, what about
I think
you?
Apocalypse Now would be a great addition to the
Oh, yeah, for
collection.
sure.
They have the Redux and the original, but I'd love to just see all the other footage they shot and just
Right.
hear Coppola talk about the movie and the experience. That would be awesome to me.
I think that's something that might actually happen, hopefully
awesome.
soon, because
Yes.
I definitely think that should be in the Criterion Collection. I would like to see that extra stuff, just like you. But as far as like my personal pick, I'd have to go with my all-time favorite movie ever, which is Leon the Professional.
Yes.
If any of you guys have ever seen
I
that,
thought that was in there.
it's not, as far as I know.
I
But if
swore it was, but I'm
If it
wrong,
were,
yes.
I'd like to think that I would know about it, because I would definitely jump at the chance of wanting to have that. But like I said, that's like one of my all-time favorite movies, and I'd like to just see what kind of extra content they would include with it, and I'd like to, definitely be interested in what kind of review, or not review, but essay booklet that would come with it, and just to see it remastered. I had the chance of seeing it played at the Enzion locally here.
Nice.
Back in like October of November.
Is that on film or?
It was on the actual original print
Nice.
on the big screen, and before that I had just seen it, on like TV screens or a laptop screen, anything like that. But to see it on the big screen and its original, 35 millimeter print
Yeah, that's awesome.
was something wondrous to behold. And that was a learning experience in itself. And I think Leon the Professional would be an interesting addition to the Criterion Collection, considering a lot of the movies that they do have that kind of seem out of left field, as far as like The Rock.
The Rock.
Or
Armageddon.
is that part of
Armageddon.
Criterion?
Armageddon.
Yes. Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Okay. I suppose Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in
I don't
there.
really. I guess it's kind of hard to peg what movies they choose.
They always-
there's this common thread, but
For every film that they have that like no one's ever seen, they always have the one like
Mainstream?
hit in there.
Yeah.
Just because, I guess, I don't know.
Sales.
so the next question I want to ask you guys before we go into my collection: do you think it's important for film students to know of the collection, and why?
Absolutely. I think it's paramount for film students in particular to have access to the Criterion Collection. And I think it would be great for institutions of education to offer access to it, whether that's through the school library, renting out videos, or perhaps an online code so that you can watch the films.
Right.
But there's a lot you can learn from the Criterion Collection, and there are a lot of films in there that you would never think of. For instance, one of my favorites is a film called The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, and it is it's from the 70s, and the cinematographer Michael Ballhaus worked on it, and it was one of his early films, and the use of movement and everything in it is beautiful. And the idea that you have this collection of films where you can learn more about the process of the filmmaking through all of the supplements that they offer is a great tool that should be promoted constantly.
Absolutely. Donald, what about you?
Basically, that.
Yeah.
It's important, I think, because I think a lot of film students don't look
Past
past
a certain year.
what's on the top,
Right.
or look past a certain year, or I think a lot of people kind of snoot at the idea of a French, like a
French New Wave from the 60s or
French
something.
New Wave film.
Yeah.
I remember here at Full Sail we watched Breathless.
Yeah.
And history of motion picture, and like the whole class was like.
Yep.
So I think if they take a look at what the Criterion Collection has to offer in terms of the full history of world film,
Yeah.
they could earn a lot more than
'Cause
just what's
there is
on
definitely
the top. Yeah.
a lot of great stuff out there. I would say, like, as far as like the students in your class, I would say, like, in their defense, Breathless is kind of, I guess, intense. It's an acquired taste first and foremost. It's an intense. I don't know.
Goddard
Subjectively, Goddard as a whole first and
is
foremost, but
subjective.
Breathless, I don't know if that would be like the best introduction to Goddard as far as his movies go. I think there's a lot of other movies that you could, like, I don't know, ease someone into as far as Goddard, but it's definitely an acquired taste, but definitely one of the most
My point
influential
is
films
that
ever.
I think a lot of film students don't look past what's right in front of them, what's playing at the AMC
Yeah.
down on the street. And I guess if you don't want to, that's fine, but you should.
Yeah. Tim, what
I
about
think
you?
Caleb said it best in that it should be fundamental for film students to at least get a glimpse into like all these films that they could be missing, and it's there and they offer them, and I think it's a very good thing to have at film school.
Even if you don't like the films that choose A in the Criterion Collection, it's important to still watch them just to see.
Give it a shot.
What else is out there? Because if you don't try, then yeah.
I think it's important just to take in all the films that are offered from around the world. You got to look at Japanese cinema, look at French cinema, look at German cinema, all these great directors, all this great work from around the world. I think it's important to take all of that in just as well, just to I guess expose yourself to things that's outside of Hollywood and outside of the American-made system and so on and so forth,
that's what I said.
and be influenced by all these different guys from around the world.
Yeah, you never know where that brilliant piece of influence is going to come from.
Right. And a lot of things that people don't realize is that, like, a lot of these older films help influence a lot of the modern films,
Yeah,
like
that
Star
too, yeah,
Wars,
yeah.
Hidden Fortress. You wouldn't have Star Wars without Hidden Fortress. You wouldn't have had Pulp Fiction without Band of Outsiders, and so on and so forth. And everybody knows about the Magnificent Seven remake that's coming out with Chris Pratt and Denzel.
It's
a remake of a remake.
Yeah.
Because you had Seven Samurai
Remake of a
first.
remake, which is still
People will
probably
never know
better.
Seven Samurai if they don't give it a chance. And I think, once again, the whole point of a Criterion Collection is the accessibility. And speaking of accessibility, I was talking to Caleb about this earlier because he didn't realize that a lot of the Criterion Collection is offered on Hulu, on the
Yes.
streaming service. So I was telling him what I'll do is
And
I'll go on
Fandor.
Hulu and I'll watch a movie from the Criterion Collection. If I like it, then I'll go out and buy it. So for everybody out there watching, if you don't have Hulu already, you get the free 30-day free trial and
Oh,
give
really?
the Criterion. Because that's why I signed up for Hulu in the first place, not for the TV, not for everything else. I signed up strictly for the Criterion Collection, and it was a good decision. So with that being said, I want to take a look at just some of my own personal collection that I have here, and I went through this with you guys a little bit earlier. One of the very first films I would like to talk about is "And God Created Woman." Have you guys seen that one?
No,
Nope.
No, none of you have seen it. Have you seen
Nope.
it? You've seen it a little bit.
I haven't seen it.
I tend to have a thing for like
who directed
movies
it?
that have like this sort of whimsy about it, and God Created Woman is definitely one of them. The astounding success of Roger Vadim and God Created Woman revolutionized the foreign film market and turned Brigitte Bardot into an international star. Bardot stars as Juliet, an 18-year-old orphan whose unbridled appetite for pleasure shakes up all of Saint-Tropez. Her sweet but naive husband, Michael, endures beatings, insults, and mambo in his attempts to tame her wild ways. So it's a I wouldn't say, definitely a comedy. I'd say more than anything else. Definitely one that I would highly recommend to you guys. Especially it's a French film from the early '60s. There's Brigitte Bardot. You know, this, like I said, it's the movie that turned her into an international star, and then she would go on to star in other French films like Contempt, and so on and so forth. So definitely one that I would highly recommend for you guys. And the second movie on my list that I want to talk about, Black Orpheus. Have you guys seen that?
I have not.
Okay, this is out of Brazil, also from the '60s. It is the winner of both the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Cannes Film Festival's Palme d'Or, starring Marcel Camus, directed by Marcel Camus. This is Black Orpheus, and it tells the story of the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, and it like retells this ancient story in a modern setting. And it's set in the 20th century during Carnival in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where it's set. With its eye-popping photography and a ravishing soundtrack, Black Orpheus was an international cultural event and kicked off the bossa nova craze that set high fives across America spinning. So another one that I would definitely recommend for you guys. I guess this would fall under the dramatic category. It's like I said, it's set in Brazil, but it's it's mostly in Portuguese, and definitely one that I would definitely recommend for you guys. The next movie on my list, Breathless. We talked about this one earlier.
I'm sure we've all seen it.
We've all seen this one, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the most influential movies ever. It's safe to say that there was cinema before Breathless, and then there was cinema after Breathless. This was directed by Jean-Luc Godard, and he burst onto the scene in the 1960s with this jazzy, free-form, and sexy homage to American film genres that inspired him as a writer for Cahiers du Cinéma. With its lack of polished surplus of attitude and anything-goes crime narrative, and effervescent young stars Jean-Paul Belmondo and Jean Seberg, Breathless not only helped launch the French New Wave, but additionally ensured that cinema would never ever be the same again. So you guys have any thoughts on Breathless? I mean, we all said it's an acquired, it's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to get with it.
I have a friend who calls it the worst, who calls it the worst movie of all time, and I'm like,
definitely not that.
what? No, it's not.
It's
that.
all a bit subjective, but I think it's definitely a movie worthy of respect.
It's not my favorite. It's not
Godard.
my favorite Godard movie.
It's not mine either, but it's very important and it's very influential for all the right reasons.
I love her though. I love Jean.
I'll watch pretty much anything with her. I think her story is the one that I think deserves its own biopic alone. If you know her history and her backstory.
I won't say about how she died, but it's really interesting.
Caleb, you have any thoughts on it?
Definitely not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it for what it is and for what it did
I think
for
that's
cinema.
the biggest thing about it. Just what it did for cinema, even though, I mean, I like the movie.
I think we probably wouldn't have. I think we probably wouldn't have
Tarantino.
Tarantino if it wasn't for that film right there.
Hey, Tim, you have any thoughts on Breathless?
I appreciate it, but it's not my favorite either.
Yeah.
I think you should watch it. Everyone should watch it if you're into film, but you don't have to love it. You just have to appreciate what it did.
Absolutely, it's definitely influential, like I said, for all the right reasons. Next on my list is The Great Beauty. This is out of Italy, circa 2013. Have you guys seen this one?
I have
Beauty?
not.
No.
I've heard a lot of good things though. But
It is pretty good, very
haven't seen
Fellini-esque. You know, it has that similar vibe, kind of like La Dolce Vita or 8.5. For decades, journalist Jep, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Jep Gambardella has charmed and seduced his way through the glittering nightlife of Rome. Since the legendary success of his only novel, he has been a permanent fixture in the city's literary and elite social circles. But on his 65th birthday, Jep unexpectedly finds himself taking stock of his life, turning his cunning wit on himself and his contemporaries and looking past the lavish nightclubs, parties, and cafes to find Rome itself in all of its monumental glory. A timeless landscape of absurd, exquisite beauty, featuring sensuous cinematography, a lush score, and award-winning central performance by the great Tony Servillo. This transporting experience by the brilliant Italian director Paolo Sorrentino is a breathtaking Fellini-esque tale of decadence and lost love. So I would definitely recommend this to you, for you guys, especially if you like the work of Fellini. It's just a fun movie to watch. It's one of those kind of movies that's kind of told in vignettes, like little short stories, and just a fun movie. So I definitely recommend it for you guys. And you said none of you guys have ever seen it, right?
No, I
You've seen it?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on
I
it?
love
Tim?
it.
Yeah,
I just think it's I
it's
can't
fun.
even grasp it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next movie on my list, Weekend from 1967. The scathing late 60s satire from Jean-Luc Godard is one of cinema's most anarchic works. Determined to collect an inheritance from a dying relatives, the bourgeois couple travel the French countryside while civilization crashes and burns around them. Featuring a justly famous sequence in which the camera tracks along a seemingly endless traffic jam and rich with historical and literary references, Weekend is a surreally funny and disturbing call for a revolution, a depiction of society reverting to savagery, and according to the credits, the end of cinema itself. Are any of you guys familiar with Weekend?
I don't remember if I have seen it or not.
Oh yeah. Does that all look familiar? It's another work of Godard.
Yeah, his work for me kind of all tends to blend together.
I can see that.
Blend together. So I don't know if I've seen it. It looks kind of familiar, but I can't remember.
Okay. So Caleb, anything?
I have not seen this film.
This is a wildly funny movie. Like I said, like we said like many times before, Godard is he's in a acquired taste. He's a breed of his own. Tim, have you seen this one?
I've seen the opening tracking shot.
Okay.
That's it.
Just one shot.
Yeah, it's great. I'd recommend pretty much any Godard film, but this one especially. I liked it a lot better than Breathless. It's just a fun movie to take hold of as well. So definitely worth checking out. I'd highly recommend it to all three of you guys.
So if I may ask, Ricky, what's your favorite film in the Criterion Collection?
I don't have just one
You don't
favorite. It's hard.
Is
to
there
pick.
one that you go back to?
As far as one that I repeatedly go back to, it's Black Orpheus
Okay.
for me. It's my second favorite movie of all time. First is Leon the Professional, then Black Orpheus, and then La Dolce Vita. There are some movies that are more fun than others to go back to. Majority of them are they're one and done for me, and then I just gotta step away from it. La Dolce Vita, I've only seen once, and like I said, it's number 3 on my list all time.
Okay.
Just because it's so long.
Yeah.
That's the thing. that take that into consideration for sure. Black Orpheus, Do the Right Thing is in the Criterion Collection, so that's a movie I can watch, with repeated viewings. What about you guys?
Just about anything Wes Anderson that
Okay.
is in there.
They have his
go back.
whole list.
Yeah,
of
like
Yeah.
a lot of his movies.
They have all of them in there.
One of my absolute favorites in the Criterion Collection is Monty Python's Life of Brian, which I go back to frequently. So,
Mine is Mulholland Drive.
Okay.
It's my number 6 favorite film of all time.
Okay.
I've seen it probably 8 or 9 times now.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the Criterion fans, you know that it was the most
Requested.
requested film in the collection for years.
Okay.
And then when they finally released it, I think they ran out of. I think they actually ran out of
Prince.
prints in like a day or something.
Okay. Wow.
So it's very it's in high demand. I like it just because I love Lynch. I know you were telling
Yeah.
you were telling me earlier.
I think I need to give him a
No,
shot
you
some
can-
more, but from what I've tried, I couldn't get into it.
I'm not even gonna try to explain what Mulholland Drive is because you just kind of
Yeah.
have to watch. But the Criterion release of it is fantastic because it includes the film, and then it has 6 of his shorts from way back.
Okay.
In his early days. So if you like Lynch and you like the Criterion Collection, you get Mulholland Drive.
Tim,
For
anything for
me,
you?
it's
then?
my all-time favorite film, The Graduate. They just released
Okay.
it in February. I've seen it way too many times to even count. I just love everything about the movie.
it's a great
Okay.
cast.
It's just awesome.
There is actually one film that I probably go to more than anything else that I mentioned. It's Day for Night by Francois Truffaut. That's a movie.
I haven't seen that.
That's a movie I can watch over and over again. I just can't. It's great. I can't explain why. It's just a great story. You're familiar with it, Tim?
Yes.
And you're familiar with it? Yeah, definitely one that I would recommend for anybody, especially any filmmaker. It's just one of those classic movies. Dare I say, it's one of the few movies I actually might want to see remade, just because to introduce it to a younger audience.
Absolutely.
So.
Who would you put in? Who would you put?
Oh, I wouldn't even
in
fathom.
hands?
I wouldn't even begin to fathom who I would put in the principal roles of any kind. Not even directing. Directing, maybe Baz Luhrmann.
Oh
But
God, Baz Luhrmann.
I think he could do
I
a pretty
can't
good job.
stand
I'm a
Baz
fan of
Luhrmann.
his, and I don't think any of his movies are in the Criterion Collection either.
That
So maybe rightfully so.
freaking great.
I liked Great Gatsby.
Oof.
It was great.
I like that. Yeah.
God.
So that's about all the time we have for this week. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and leave your thoughts in the comments section. While you're at it, don't forget to click that little button that says subscribe. Subscribing is the only way to ensure you don't miss on any future Defiant Giant content. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels, which of course can be found over on our website, thebigdg.com. For Tim, Dylan, Caleb, and the rest of the Defiant Giant crew, I'm Ricky Nix, and we'll see you next week.